Greetings, unsettled souls, and welcome. We found the correct views. Sam I. B. the Gangi doing political commentary for the Media Speaks, your host here at the correct views. And it's been a while since I've posted. Many of you are looking for the Fukushima update, which will be happening next week. And you have been, I'm sure, asking about the Dunce Cap of the Month award. I don't know if I will be doing that this month or doing two of them next month, but they will all be done, I promise. The Fukushima show will be coming, like I said, next week. Wanted to give you a show. Now, I have not been able to get in here as I had originally hoped, as often as I had hoped to. And a lot of it is because I don't have anybody at all helping me with the show anymore. All of the people that used to do so have vanished. So I have taken it upon myself to make sure I do them as frequently as I can. Sometimes it's hard to get into the room I'm in right now, but I have done so. Check this out, friends. Trump can't win. Pelosi decries silence on Russia nuke threat after slamming impulsive rhetoric. Pretty much what she's saying here is that for a long time, she and many others have been extremely vocal about the fact that Mr. Trump, they feel, needs to do something against Russia. Even though he was never connected to Russia at all for the election, it is true that Putin was trying, as many nations I'm sure have, to interfere with the elections. So she thinks that, Mr. Trump needs to get harsh and get mean and do. Well, as soon as he does something, she complains that he's harsh and that he's mean. Listen to this. There's no shortage of people in my life that are never happy by anything that I do. No matter what I do, there's always somebody there to point out how I didn't do it right, even when I did. And I think Pelosi is one of those people. Listen to this. Certain moments on Capitol Hill capture the agility it takes to be in a loyal opposition. House Democratic leader Nancy Pelosi's critique of the White House response to two different nuclear threats is one of those moments. On Friday, the California Democrats slammed the Trump administration for its silence, Fox News writes, on Russian President Vladimir Putin's bellicose address earlier this week, boasting of a nuclear weapon technology that could render the U.S. useless. For those of you that didn't follow that particular story or didn't hear of it, a little bit of a nuclear heads up for what I'm doing next week. There's been weapons that have been produced that can get by the defenses that are already in place in the U.S. They travel supposedly faster than American nuclear weapons. Although, again, we don't know what's being worked on behind the scenes. The point is Putin was being very, very clear with his threat heading our way. President Trump's decision to turn a blind eye to Putin's overt threats of nuclear aggression puts Russia before the interests of America, Pelosi said. But she took the opposite approach on August 2017 when she was blasting Trump when he responded to Kim Jong-un's nuclear threats by warning of firing fury from the United States. Back then, Pelosi condemned his recklessly belligerent comments about the saber rattling. Now, it might be hard to differentiate what's true and what's not here, but let's put it this way. We'll sum it up real easy. 80s, Ronald Reagan took a very hard but friendly approach to Russia, and we won the Cold War without a single shot being fired. Many people listening to this who are my age remember hiding under desks when we were very young. It didn't happen because we were able to prevent Russia from moving ahead in the direction that they were going in when they were the Soviet Union. Fast forward to when Donald Trump has done the same thing to North Korea, and North Korea is willing to talk. Reagan did it twice. He did it with Libya. He didn't have to fire a shot at Libya, though. If Trump did it with North Korea in the same way that Ronald Reagan did it with Russia, then doesn't it stand to reason that Donald Trump probably has some plan for Russia as well? And, again, if you look at the promises he's kept in relation to the TPP and NAFTA and various things that he's working on the wall, trade agreements, the border, you can see that he's telling the truth. It's just that some people don't want to admit that that truth is working very well. Friends, this is interesting. I'm not going to get real deep into it here, but McDonald's puts fresh beef on the menu, supplying 14,000 restaurants. with never frozen beef. Now, again, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but I wanted to hint it real quickly because you can search the correct views McDonald's. You'll find that I'm telling the truth here. I have said in the past that the way that McDonald's could get out of their great problem that they're in is really easy. The only thing that they would have to do is to offer organic food. Cost a little more, so be it. Organic food, and then the regular slop that they always serve. Each person going through the drive-thru could decide what it is that they wanted to eat. I gave the idea to McDonald's. I filmed it. Nobody paid any mind at all. Now, fast forward 3 or 4 years later, when McDonald's is having all the kinds of trouble that I predicted that they would, and you can see how painfully right I was, and now McDonald's, of course, is listening to me. That's why it's called The Correct Views, friends. That's why we're called The Correct Views. Again, go ahead and look through when I posted this. You can see that I'm telling the truth there. Conservative Tribune, Trump makes school great again, gives back popular drink Michelle Obama stole from kids. That's right, chocolate milk is now back in schools. According to ABC News, it relaxes some of the whole grain requirements in sodium intake. And so this is not reducing the nutritional standards whatsoever, Agricultural Secretary Sonny Perdue told reporters. Flexibility in schools is coming back, which is definitely needed. Let's remember, Mrs. Obama had your kids going to school eating absolute garbage while her kids were eating 5-star meals. Remember that? There were pictures of it. Just how much waste has there been in the school cafeterias across the country because kids hate the food served to them? Untold numbers. Thrown away. They're starving because they can't eat this crap. In addition, according to School Nutritional Association, the Michelle Obama's program added 27 cents to the cost of every breakfast. So not only were they not more enjoyed in making everyone healthy, they were making sicker because they couldn't eat the tripe. And then it was worse because it was more expensive. So you were paying more for worse food. That's pretty much the Democrat way. Two odd stories here. First of all, I'm rooting for this guy. I am. I'm against the war on drugs. Completely against it. I'd be the first to say that it has done nothing but harm our nation and impede our Fourth Amendment practically in every way. But this still needed mentioned here. Suspect Harlow, drug dealer, lasted 47 days without pooing and has now been released. I'm so rooting for him. He was a suspected drug dealer who was detained in custody for 47 days without voiding, as it were. He's been released from custody and taken to hospital for treatment. Lamar Chambers, 24, of Villa Road, Brixton, London, was arrested on Wednesday, the 17th of January, after the car he was in was stopped. Harlow appeared before the court a day later, and police suspected he had swallowed the drugs. What's none of their business? Even in that country, I would argue. I'm sure they have something similar to a Fourth Amendment, which is being reamed. At his hearing, several other hearings, the court authorized the detention of Mr. Chambers to enable him to pass the drugs the police thought were inside of him. 47 days later, he has not emptied his bowels. Essex police confirmed that during his time in custody, he was routinely supplied with food and water and received medical visits every day. Mr. Chambers has been charged with possession with intent to supply Class A drugs in driving matters, but the charges have now been dropped by the Crown Prosecution Services. I love this. I love this man. He is subsequently rearrested on suspicion of being concerned in a supply of a Class A drug and was released on bail. Since his release in custody, he's been taken to the hospital for treatment. On the basis of all the medical evidence in this case, it was most appropriate, both in the interest of Chambers and in justice, to ensure that he gets the hospital treatment that he needs. Essex Police Operation Raptor team spend every day proactively hunting for those involved in the supply of drugs. Well, you know what? Maybe they should change the approach to that. Maybe they should realize that each person needs to be responsible for what it is that they put into themselves. How about that? Does that work for you? Because that's what the Constitution says. And don't give me this happened in England, because BS happens here, and they have the equivalent of a Fourth Amendment too. When the government impedes on the people, that is tyranny. And you should be allowed to use whatever drug you want, as long as you're not harming anyone else. Two stories in the poo department here, just because they were funny. This is going in with our Dumby of the day, which is next. Man in feces smearing incident was just released from jail. Lots of people in relation to poo are being released here. There were sure to be some unhappy travelers Thursday night on the United Airlines flight had to be diverted to Anchorage due to the actions of a passenger on board. United Airlines Flight 895 from Chicago to Hong Kong had to be redirected to Anchorage Thursday due to a passenger smearing feces everywhere, according to Ted Stevens International Airport Police. They say the adult male smeared the excrement within a couple of bathrooms, took off his shirt, and emptied the stuff in the toilet. He was cooperative with the flight crew and was seated when the plane was sent to Alaska. Passenger was met by FBI agents and airport police at the plane and was interviewed by both entities. They say that the subject was taken to Providence Hospital for a psych evaluation. No charges were filed. The subject involved in the incident was released from jail in Evansville, Indiana, 2 days prior to the incident on board the flight. KTVA's Scott Gross is reporting that the family bought a 21 to 22-year-old man a one-way ticket to Vietnam to live with other family members, and he's been a resident of Oakland ever since. So there seems to be some kind of a problem with people smearing poo on themselves in planes. What better time to drop that sample? You are an idiot. Well, as you know, guys, that brings us to the dumbdee of the day, and the last thing I'm going to get to this evening. I do want to remind you that you can donate to the show by dropping me a line at thecorrectviews@hotmail.com. You can donate through PayPal. And when you do, it goes towards the better show, goes towards me getting the internet again and not being stuck in this ridiculous room, almost never doing shows. Many of you have said you missed me, but that is why. All right, friends. Last one we're going to get to. I'm still going to that show, by the way. Devil Doll. Mom fumes at Toys R Us after buying a daughter a Christmas doll, which called her a biatch. Yes, I censored it because I have people that share the video. A shocked mom was forced to take her daughter's favorite Christmas present away after it appeared to be repeating explicit insults. Siobhan Fox, 30, filmed My Little Baby Born Walks doll, which she believes sounds like it's saying you B-word rather than mama and papa. And she and her husband Daniel had expected it to say that. She said, my daughter is 2.5 years old and we wanted it because her friend has one. It was on the top of her list. My husband and I got the batteries in and it was not in the room. My daughter had it off of my husband and I caught his ears. It meant to say mama, dada, but it's totally not. He called me in and said, okay, look, what do you think of this? I got it straight away. So they had to remove the doll from the top because of what it appears to say. Why don't they just tell her what it really says and let her keep it? Not probably because they're crappy parents. The disappointed mother said that was what she really wanted, and she felt awful that she had to do it. The store offered a refund or exchange, but said she wants to see the dolls off the shelves. Sibian said the batteries were fresh from the box and Bachman wouldn't cut. Our baby born products are created to be fun and introductive. So basically the recording at whatever instance sounded muffled. They offered to give her a new toy and that wasn't enough to keep her happy. That's why she's getting the dumbdee of the day. Thank you for listening, friends. Please hit share, please hit subscribe, and look for the Fukushima show next week. Good night.